welcome to episode 14 of Did You Bring the Hummus podcast. I'm Kimberly, your host, and I'm super excited to be here with you today. Did You Bring the Hummus is a podcast to help you go vegan. Every 2 weeks, I'll share a new episode discussing all things vegan. Most importantly, we'll talk about how to embrace this meaningful decision with fervor and fun. Episodes post every other Monday on your favorite podcast app. Before we get started, I have one very important question for you. Did you bring the hummus? In today's episode, I am joined by Susheila Utterback. Originally from California, Susheila moved to North Carolina in 1999 with a long-term goal to buy a house and adopt dogs. She did just that. She currently lives with 3 dogs, Cinnamon, Whitney, and Digda, and 1 cat, Hello Kitty. As you'll hear, Susheila's journey to veganism was propelled by North Carolina's AG-Gag laws. As a human and a businesswoman, she was appalled by what this meant for the animals and what this meant for businesses to be able to operate in secrecy. Enjoy this time with Susheila as she takes us on her vegan journey. Hey Susheila, thanks so much for joining me tonight.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well, thanks. How are you doing?
Okay.
So Did You Bring the Hummus is a podcast to inspire people to go vegan. So I'd love to start off with my first question asking you, how did you go vegan? Tell us your story.
Well, I think I started out maybe vegan curious, although I wouldn't have known that term way back when. I'd always thought about vegetarians as, oh my gosh, what do they eat? And I could never do that. You know, the typical things that you hear and that we all said. And I don't remember when in 2015, but it was kind of coming to a head for me. It was weighing on me. I wanted to not eat meat, but somehow I was still eating meat. And it was always like, I'll start. And in the news here in North Carolina, excuse me, there was these AG-Gag laws that were coming into law that I started hearing about, and they got me really upset and mad. They basically were the factory farming's reaction to undercover operations of people telling on them of the horrific things that happen in their industry to animals. Not that we think it's a cakewalk or whatever for the animals, but anyway, they were kind of outed, and as a result, these laws were signed into effect in 2015 by the governor, and it kind of just tripped for me. I was like, how can I support? I can't support in good conscience that industry at all, and so and it wasn't like I don't know. It wasn't like the day that it was signed into law or anything. It was more of right around that time I was learning more, and I was having trouble kind of flipping the switch, even though I was mad. And I think it was just like one day I went to my nephew's birthday celebration, and they had ordered pizza before we got there, and all of it had meat on it, and I was upset. And on the way home, I'm like, it doesn't matter what they ordered, or nobody's forcing you to do what you don't want to do. And it was actually that conversation that day after his birthday party that I was like, okay, fine, you're right. Nobody can force you to eat what you don't want to eat, and therefore I don't want to eat it. And it was actually pretty easy. And that was my first day of being a vegetarian. And then I think because of that learning process about the AG-Gag laws, I started watching some documentaries, Educated, probably Forks Over Knives. I don't know if it was right around then, but it was, within a couple of months, I was vegan, because it was like just knowing the extra things beyond just the meat portion of it, just all the animal products. I was like, okay, I can't support any of that in good conscience. So that was kind of, so I count like August 1st of 2015. I don't know the exact date, but it was the summer of 2015. And I was like, okay, this is just when I awakened, and for me. I couldn't do anything else after that point. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense once we really understand and we make that connection, right? Because it's so easy to learn things, but not really take it in.
Oh
But,
yeah.
but
Oh
once,
yeah.
right? But once
Oh
you
yeah.
take it in, then how do you go back
Yeah.
to what you'd been doing before you learned and then
Yeah.
really embodied that?
Right.
Can't,
And
right?
I think I told you I spent a few years in Europe, and there was like this one time in Amsterdam, and there was a big pig on a spit in a restaurant, and I just cringed. Like, you don't want to see that, right? And there was another time in Paris, a butcher shop, fresh chicken head.
Mm,
And I was just like, wow, in America, we go out of our way to not know,
right.
these. And it was funny because now when I look back, I knew, and I knew I didn't want to know, if that makes sense,
Oh, yeah.
because I articulated it. I articulated it to my coworkers, to, myself, and yet it didn't, it took 20 years to kind of take root in really my head to figure out, okay, this is wrong for me, and I've just not wanted to pay attention
Mm-hmm.
before. So,
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. So thank you for bringing that up for people who are listening who are not yet vegan, to not feel like they have to do it overnight or to expect that everything changes overnight. Some of us can do that. Some of us they learn it and then they're like, okay, that's it. But even for me as a kid, you mentioning the pig in Amsterdam, it reminded me of, I was at a family party when I was maybe 12, and my aunt had made a pig like in a pit in the ground, and then
mhm,
the rest of the night, the pig's head was on a platter with an
mm,
apple. It was at the centerpiece of the table.
mhm,
And I remember feeling horrified by that
mhm.
and confused why no one else seemed horrified by it. But I didn't stop eating animals for
Right,
another, 8 years. Yeah.
right, right. Exactly. It's like you might register on some level, but it doesn't affect your behavior. I think it has to register or hit you at a at a certain level, and then you're like, okay, now I get it. Oh my God, why did it take me so long? But you're right, it's not an overnight thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's years, sometimes it never happens, right? So
Mhm. When we talked earlier, the AG-Gag laws were so interesting to me. So North Carolina, where you're located, the AG-Gag laws came up in 2015, but
mhm.
even before that, there's a lot of factory farms down there, right?
Oh yeah, pigs
And
are, yeah, they're everywhere. Yeah.
yeah, and they have like the big open pits,
Yeah.
and like people who live around there are suffering too. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
we know what the animals are suffering being in these warehouses essentially, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
they're not taken care of. They suffer from, kind of with the pigs anyway, and they will try to chew each other's tails because they're so stressed out, and so there's always like they're docking the tails without any anesthesia to stop the other pigs from chewing on each other's tails. But then they have the open pits of waste, and then
Yeah.
people live around there. You live
Yeah.
downwind from a factory farm, right? And like your respiratory health is at risk, and how do you even
Oh,
open your windows?
and then hurricanes, right? When we have hurricanes, there's always, in the news about the health problems created by the lagoons, as they call them, the
Mm,
waste lagoons of, seeping in out. And I mean, it's the whole thing is disgusting. Probably even before I, had my awakening and became vegan, I was registering that was a bad situation. But, did I still eat pork? Yeah. Did I still eat just about most animal products? Yeah. So, but yeah, the laws just kind of helped me open my eyes about, wow, they're going to really great lengths to hide this, what's going
mhm.
on from people. And that's horrible
Yeah.
all on its own, right? But then kind of the deeper meaning of that as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I think too, some people are probably not aware of ag-gag laws, and North Carolina is not the only state that's had them or even has them. I think there are a few states that still have ag-gag laws on the books. I was looking at the Animal Defense League website
Mm-hmm.
a few hours ago, and it
Mm-hmm.
seems like just last year the
Yep.
North Carolina ag-gag laws were reversed,
Yep.
but it took
Yep.
5 years for them to deem it unconstitutional. And the fact that, a business that is providing, I mean, I don't think it's food, but we'll call it food because that's what everyone else calls it, providing food to the masses, and they don't have to tell us what's happening there, or they have the ability to hide the risks that they might be putting people in. I mean, we just spent a year locked up at home
Because of
because
animals in
yeah,
Asia. Yeah. But
yeah,
yeah, it could happen anywhere. Yeah,
yeah,
and I think also the other thing about egg was like it was supposed to be protected business practices, and as a business person, that was really offensive to me. It's like I don't know. I tend to think of it as how to protect your intellectual property, and it was so offensive for me to think that how they torture and kill animals was somehow a business practice that needed to be protected. It was really offensive to me.
right.
So
Yeah. Yeah, it's some proprietary work.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That
yeah,
is gross.
it is. It is. It's
Yeah.
very, yeah, disturbing and yeah.
Mm,
So
yeah. And I mean, we look at the videos that come out of, the people who are able to get in there and take videos, and I know that they've changed or at least opened people up to talk about, well, maybe I don't need to keep eating animals. So it's really important on so many levels. Of course, selfishly, I'm like, I want everybody to be vegan. So,
right. Yeah.
but, but even, I don't know, just for our health, when we think about what the animals are going through and the fact that they're hiding this from us, so we know that it's worse than we even know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The suffering that they're enduring, and then people are consuming
Mm-hmm.
flesh of
Mm-hmm.
creatures, sentient beings that have spent their entire lives just being tortured.
Yep. I know it's amazing to me to even think how I couldn't how it took 49 years for me to arrive at my, I ate animal products for 49 years before my personal epiphany. And but it was kind of like my stay in Europe, like wait, we don't want to know, right? Like we go out of our way to not know. Um, and I think most people are happy doing that. It's unfortunate, but I mean, like my mom one time was saying something about how good something was. This was after I became vegan, and I said, "Do you know what they put in that? Like it was like chicken soup or something, right?" And she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Dead chickens."
Yeah.
And she says, "Sheila, you can't think about it that way." And I'm like, "It is the only way I can think about it." So, I guess more power to you for being in denial, but I can't do it anymore. So stop trying to get me to taste the good chicken soup. It's not going to happen,
Right.
right?
Anytime someone tries to explain to me what they're eating, or even if, because sometimes people will do that, like where they're like, oh, you don't know what you're missing kind of thing. Oh, it's so good. Well, first of
Oh
all,
yeah,
I ate meat before, so I do
right,
know, and I'm not missing.
right.
And so sometimes they're being a little trying to get under your skin with it. But other
Mm-hmm,
times I think people just forget, and they just start
mm-hmm.
talking about whatever, animal-based food they've just had, and they're going on and on about how great it is. And like, I'm just sitting there like, are you expecting me to be like, oh yeah, that sounds amazing? Because I have a
Right,
lot of other things I'd like to say right now, but
right. That you don't want to be rude, depending
yeah,
on what's going on. Yeah, it's like you don't want to like start pointing out. It's hard, I think, right? It's like you want to be informative, and yet not rude. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, I don't know. I try not to be in anybody's face. I do welcome when somebody asks me. For example, my ex-husband, who's now my partner, we were reunited when we first were talking the first couple of months, and started talking about maybe trying things again. He said that he knew it was probably an important thing that he become vegan, and I really hadn't thought about it that far down the road. But he's right. I mean, I wouldn't have somebody else living in my house or living in somebody else's house if we couldn't have the same sort of approach to food. That would be a really, I mean, I know people do it, but every once in a while I'll field a question. A couple of weeks ago, actually, one of my cousins in California, out of the blue, messaged me and said, do you have information about becoming vegetarian? I'm really considering doing that. And I was like, wow. I mean, I was really kind of honored, because I know when I last saw that part of my family, my dad's side of the family, was 2019 in Reno for a party. And I think everybody thought like what a drag I was. Nobody said it, or it was polite, but oh, do you want to go do the seafood buffet? And I'm like, well, I can go to visit, but I'm not going to pay $20 just to sit down with you guys and not be able to eat anything. So I'll just visit with you when I come back, right? So I mean, it was kind of like a series of that over the weekend of like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll go, but I'm not going to eat what you're eating, sort of thing. But it was interesting to me that she held on to that, and when she was having it was actually health concerns, and she wants to try a change. And she actually messaged me yesterday and said she was almost 3 weeks without eating meat. And
Yay.
she never thought she could, do a day, right? She's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I love meat. I'm like, I don't want to tell her, but most of the time when you say you love meat, it's actually the seasonings, right? Because nobody
Yep.
likes the raw meat. Well, I shouldn't say nobody, but most people don't like, it's not the raw. If you just cook raw meat and don't do anything with it, most
Mm-hmm.
people are not going to enjoy that, right?
Right.
So it's the seasoning, it's the plants and the minerals that you use to season the meat that are good. It's not necessarily the meat. So, and it took me a long way. I'm still learning. I still like learn from other people and from my own kind of reasoning, but I was like really pleased that she reached out and that I sent her a bunch of vegan information. But I told her, I said, so just the way I can take a recipe and veganize it pretty much now with anything, you can also take a vegan recipe and, throw in dairy or whatever if you absolutely have to. But
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of substitutes out there. You don't have to go that direction. So didn't want to push her, but just wanted to throw out those thoughts, because if she's having a problem with meat, she's probably having a problem with dairy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Which, you don't think about. Unless you're horribly lactose intolerant in our culture, you don't think about it, right? And
Right.
and I never was. I like dairy, I like cheese, but not once I understood what that meant
Mm-hmm.
to cows and calves, and just no, can't do it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how many times do you hear from someone, I could never give up cheese?
oh, all the time,
Right.
right? All the time. I mean, my partner, he would, no lie, when we were married, he would no no easily go through like a pound of cheese a day,
Mm-hmm.
easily, half a pound to a pound. He was just cheese all the time. And he's lived over a year now without any meat, dairy, animal products, etc. He's, in some ways, he's better because he's still new enough to it, and he'll still like be adamant about reading labels and things like that. Whereas I kind of like, if you're used to a certain brand or something and you verified it, you can
Right.
kind of stop verifying it. But you really should keep reading labels,
Right.
because sometimes recipes do change. So anyway, I have to get better about my label reading again. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think, it ebbs and flows. Like you said, you get comfortable, you have a favorite brand, and so you just are like, well, that's probably never going to change. You don't think about it, you just grab it. But yeah, it's really helpful just to check in periodically, because
Mhm.
they change things, and like suddenly just some kind of milk protein shows up in something that had been vegan for as long as you can remember. Like, why?
Exactly. And I always get upset when something that I've eaten and I understood to be vegan, like some chemical or something that I don't understand to be from it. Yeah. And, I've tried the different apps where you can kind of like, is it vegan? I think is an app
Hmm.
where you scan the barcode um, but sometimes you're not aware of, like, riboflavin, I think was something I wasn't aware of, that it primarily comes from animals. It's not necessarily
Hmm.
from animals, but it can be. And if the label doesn't say, it's hard to make a call, right? Like,
Right.
um, hmm. So apps like the Is It Vegan help a lot, as long as it has a barcode.
Hmm.
If it doesn't have a barcode, then hopefully it's not, processed, and it's an apple, or it's a,
Right.
you know that it's safe. But I mean,
Yeah, that comes up a lot with bread products, right? The
mhm,
monodiglycerides, I think.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
And they can be either derived from animals or from plants. And it typically doesn't say, unless it's a product that is saying like vegan or
vegan, right?
vegetarian, even it will say like plant source or plant derived.
Mhm,
But yeah, I didn't know that for so long. And like a lot of the breads, even at like the bakeries in your grocery store, you think like, oh, the breads are probably just like water, salt, and yeast. And then you flip it over. The ingredients list is like 3 inches long, and it's all kinds of stuff
mm,
you can't pronounce. And so many of those things, could be like the monodiglycerides can be animal based.
mm.
So you can
Yeah,
really get in the weeds with it, right? So,
yeah,
we start big, we learn about what the animals are going through and why we don't want to contribute to that. So we stop doing that, and then you can start to learn about all the additives and all that stuff that shows up. Um, or you can take the easy way out and just eat plants,
right,
fruits, vegetables, grains, all that. Anything without a label, like you said, it's safe.
right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I haven't gotten to that point. I mean, I still am what do they call it? Vegan junk food. Probably is, a bigger share of my diet than I'd like to admit. And I always say, well, once I retire, or because it kind of comes down to convenience. It's a
Mhm.
it's a cop out, but I guess, I do use Beyond Meat products. I do, eat chips. I do,
Oh yeah.
there are things that I know definitely aren't like the whole food plant-based. I always say whole food plant-based, no oil is my ultimate
Mhm.
goal, but have not gotten there yet. But just with it, like anything, it's a journey, right? I
Yeah,
didn't learn how to
absolutely.
be a vegan overnight. It was a process. I'm still learning stuff.
Mhm.
It's a process, just like life is a process.
Yeah. It can be fun too, right? As you discover new things. I mean, I still eat a bunch of those products too, because that's my goal too. I like the idea of eating just the whole food, plant-based and no oil. I don't cook with oil at home at all. Not that I cook outside of home, but when I cook, I don't use oil. We don't ever buy
Mhm,
it.
mhm.
But I'll eat things like Beyond Burgers and stuff. So if I buy things that have oil in it, I'm not gonna lose my mind about it. And I enjoy those things sometimes.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, it's okay. I think we work through the process, and why not enjoy if you don't have some like health issue that's being exacerbated by eating
Mhm.
that way. Um, I actually kind of enjoy trying new things and knowing that my money is going towards, these vegan companies that are really trying to make a shift in the way we all show up in the world and the way that we can kind of contribite to taking care of each other on a much larger scale.
Oh yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. And so it
Totally
feels
agree.
good,
Yeah.
all around. It's nice.
Yeah. When you were talking about the kind of discovery, I think I've never been a great cook. Just kind of out of necessity after you get out of college and you learn how to, boil water and whatever you need to do to get by. But I think one of the fun things about it. I never thought it would be. I always thought vegan cooking was going to be like a big production and I'd need 5 hours to complete any meal. And what I've found is just like quote normal recipes, right? Some are elaborate and take forever, and some are simple and take 10 minutes. It just depends. I think the most fun has been for me is not elaborate recipes have never been my thing, but occasionally I'll try them. I like the challenge of knowing how to substitute and how to veganize something. I saw that you actually have like little seminars about that sort of thing. To me, that's like a fun challenge, right? Like how do I take this recipe that sounds really good, might not be vegan, but usually with just a couple of things, right? Just to change a couple of things, and you can get really good results. I've also found that things like I haven't made this dish in a while, but I was never really a scallop sort of person because like the sand would kind of, if you just, you can't avoid it. It happens, right, with scallops. But that always made it kind of like that, like that ick factor for me. And I discovered like with king oyster mushrooms, I think it is it oyster or king something mushrooms? I make like this really great scallop dish. And to me, it tastes, except it doesn't have the salt. I mean, the sand in it, right? So I was like thrilled.
Yeah.
I was thrilled. I mean, I really like, and typically if I bring something to a potluck or back in the day when we used to have potlucks before the pre-COVID days, I was always amazed. People wouldn't be like, oh, this tastes exactly like, but I think everybody was pleasantly surprised that it was like really good. I never try and say vegan food is going to taste just like something. Because it's not. It's different. You wouldn't say, oh, here, try this pork chop. It tastes just like chicken, because no, they don't. They taste different. And so I mean, that's another thing. I think it's not going to taste exactly, but it tastes good all on its own.
Yeah, and you can get a lot of the same mouthfeel experiences and texture experiences.
Oh
So
yeah.
the flavors really do still, I'm with you on that. The flavor comes from the seasonings and spices, the way you cook something. So if you like, I have finally perfected tofu, and I'm so happy because it's like my favorite thing now. And so I freeze it, and then when I bake it, it gets like extra chewy. And I love that texture, and I can make it as a sandwich, and it really is like toothy, right? And so that's what people are looking for sometimes when they're trying to replace like a burger or like a steak or something. And so I would never say like, here, have this tofu steak. It tastes just like beef, but it is gonna it definitely can give you that chewy factor. So if you're looking
Oh
for
yeah.
chewy, and or crunchy or soft, like there's so many that just made me think about like frosting, cake frosting. And like vegan cake frosting is amazing. And there are even some brands, it's either Duncan or Pillsbury, a couple of their chocolate frostings are
That are
vegan.
vegan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I remember hearing that. Yep.
Yeah. And they're so good, and they've got that same creamy, soft texture, and a lot of the cheeses now are meeting those requirements that way too, that mouthfeel that you get with cheese. So yeah, like we don't need to be consuming animals anymore, not, where we're living, for sure, which is freeing. I think it'll be freeing for some people to feel like they have other options once they start to realize, once they make that connection, right?
Yeah. And I do think people, I mean, because I know I did. My sister-in-law and brother-in-law, do I call them my ex-sister-in-law and brother? I don't know. Anyway, my sister-in-law, but they were vegetarian. They were actually pescatarian, but I didn't know pescatarian as a term. So I remember asking her, like, well, what do you guys eat? So I think there's this concept of, either you eat salads all the time. I know I've been like, oh, you must eat a lot of salad. I'm like, do I look like I eat salad?
That's
I
the
wish
thing.
I wish I ate salads all the time, but no, I don't eat salad. But I think there's that concept of you're not going to get the same, like you said, mouthfeel or flavors and probably where you're limited the most is when you go out, depending on the restaurant. But
Mhm.
I've also taken great, not that I've been in a restaurant in a really long time, but I remember a Mother's Day, my mom wanted to go to the seafood restaurant. So fine, whatever, I can make do. I can
Mhm.
either just have water or I can find something on the menu. I'm not going to be picky about it, right? Because I think that's the wrong time. You're there to socialize, have fun. And unless you're picking the restaurant, like, okay, you just order from the menu or modify as needed, right? And there was absolutely nothing. There was literally nothing on the menu. But I explained to the waiter, I just said, so do you have anything that I could take and, because I think even like the vegetables were done in butter and I'm like, so can you just maybe, so we started talking about it and she brought me some really nice steamed potatoes and some vegetables sauteed in a little olive oil. It was perfect. I
Yeah.
was thrilled. It was so good. And I think my mom was like, oh, how can you be eating that when there's all this other? And I'm like, I don't feel deprived. In fact, I kind of feel sorry for you feeling like you have to eat that. So I understand. I used to like seafood. Don't get me wrong. It's just that it's a good feeling when you kind of come to that realization, like no matter where I am, I can find something.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
That's so
Or I can
true.
have water until I get home.
That's
That's
right.
also. Or hey, a martini and go home or whatever, right?
Yeah. And of course there are some, high or fancy restaurants where maybe the chef isn't into vegan food or doesn't know, and so then I've heard some chefs can be offended by asking for special things that aren't on the menu, but like you're the one paying, so I don't think there's anything wrong with asking. Uh, but most of them, I think, take it on, and like they're a chef because they love making food for people. So
Hmm.
so if you're presenting them with something off the menu so that they can make something special for you, I found that there are a lot of chefs that are willing to do that because it kind of, I would imagine it breaks up their night or their day,
Hmm.
to prepare something different, but it also kind of gives them a little bit of a fun challenge, back there. Or maybe it's not a challenge. I don't know. But
Right.
but yeah, you can, for the most part, find something. And like you said, if not, that's most of the time, that's not the reason why you're going out anyway. When it's for a
Right.
party where you're not in charge of choosing where you're going, if you don't have a say, then what you're going there for is the social factor. And I think that's a huge thing too. There's so many traditions and things tied up in food, and there's so much expectation tied up in food too. So like, why can't we just get together without eating? Or yeah, if we're going to a place where there isn't anything on the menu, how about you don't give us crap for not eating anything when there's nothing there? We're here to spend time with people we love, whether or not
Mhm.
we're eating the same types of foods.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, but I think it's a lot mentally to work through, right? I mean, it's bigger in your mind than it turns out to be in reality. If you do get crap from somebody, who cares? I mean, it's your choice, right? And that's a big part. I think I had listened to, I think, two of your podcasts and when I had time a few weeks ago. And there's something about, it's my choice. And I also have a big, like when somebody says, oh, you can't eat that. I'm like,
Mm,
I I won't eat that. There's a difference. Nothing's being forced on me.
mhm,
All my choice. And I think that's very empowering because again, it's like, if I go and water and french fries, whatever, it just,
been
you
there.
know, yeah, exactly. I think we all have. So, maybe it's not what you want, maybe it's not what you were hoping for, but it's my choice. And nobody should feel bad for me or, give me a bad time about it.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just kind of like poor manners on their part if they do, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People are uncomfortable, I get it, but I think part of, I mean, what you're doing obviously is excellent, right? You want to help people feel more comfortable about um, being comfortable with other people making choices, and also choosing to make choices for yourself that are either for the animals or for your health. Because sometimes I get frustrated, I don't know about you, but sometimes I get frustrated when, because a lot of like the groups on Facebook, for example, that are whole food plant-based,
Mm-hmm.
they are gung-ho about their health like nobody's business, right? And about being compliant, and but it's all about their health.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really about the animals. Now, some people acknowledge that, like, well, it's not all, for everybody, it's not just about the health or just about the animals. Sometimes there is intersection, but I'm like, sorry, I forgot my train of thought. Regardless of your motivation is whether you're doing it for animals or for your health, same result. Animals benefit, right? So, and your health benefits, even if you're not doing it for your health. I
Mm-hmm.
know my I know my health is better because I'm vegan. I know that. It's still not my motivation, but I know I benefit from it. Just like somebody who's doing it totally from the health angle, they're benefiting animals. So, hey, everybody wins. Planet, animals, health, win-win, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for me too, the motivation is for the animals. And I always see that whatever health benefits I'm getting as like an additional thing, like a
Mm.
nice little plus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like there is a difference in commitment too, where at least that I've found where, people who are doing it for their health, it it wouldn't be surprising if they were like, "Oh, I'm gonna have a cheat day," and suddenly they're having a piece of pizza or a cheeseburger or whatever. I
Right.
don't know how far they'd go when they'd been eating so well for a while, but
Right.
because to them it's still food, it's just not their food. But to
Right.
us, that's not even food.
Right.
So, yeah, maybe a
Yeah.
vegan cheeseburger, I'll be
Right.
all over that. But a cheeseburger made from an animal,
Yeah.
that's not food to me.
No, I agree. And it goes to motivation. I mean, I think, like, for me, I'm exactly like you. Like, them, I could never think about a cheat day being, eating meat. That's not where I would go. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're right. If you're whole food plant-based or vegan for your health, you're more prone to, at least maybe somebody motivated by their health wouldn't think this way, but I would think same, that they would be tempted to cheat. Or I do, one of my cousins, it was interesting because my two of my first cousins on my mom's side, I guess my only two first cousins on my mom's side, they, one is vegetarian. I don't think she's vegan. Um, and the other one is whole food plant-based. And I didn't know that about either one of them until I became vegan and was posting like recipes and stuff like that. And but the one who's whole food plant-based eats healthy all the time, but she did mention, like, for holidays and stuff, she doesn't make a big fuss, and she will, eat whatever's on the table. So that was an interesting comment to me, right? Because it's sort of like her motivation is to not, I guess, offend her parents or be thought of as difficult.
Mhm.
Whereas for me, I'm like, I'll have, I don't know, cranberries and green beans. I don't know. It
Right.
just, there's still things I can eat. I'm just not gonna eat most of what's on a traditional Thanksgiving table, but I'm never gonna feel deprived about it. That, to me, it's like,
Right.
that's not even a question.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no feeling of deprivation when your motivation is that big. Is it comes down to it's so much bigger than you
Hmm.
that to 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 eat animals intentionally when you've made that commitment, when you have this thought of like, I'm doing this to reduce suffering as much as I can as one person, or among the vegan collective to help reduce suffering, to engage in eating animals. It's so like, it doesn't matter who's offended. You can't go there. I can't go there. Oh, so many people have been so offended or upset by me, or the why just this one time, or why can't you? Why do you always have to be so difficult? But I mean, now it's different, and the people I have in my life are not that way. But I had even only, I want to say, I don't know, it's 5, 6 years ago, we went to a party at someone's house, and who I kind of knew, and I just totally forgot to mention that my
Mhm.
husband and I were vegan. And usually I'm really good at that. And it wasn't like a party where I wasn't close enough where I felt like, oh, let me bring my own food. I didn't realize till we got there. Shit, I forgot to tell her. And
Mhm.
we're looking at the spread, and everything, even the salad, bacon and cheese
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
creamy
Mhm.
dressing, there was nothing.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
when she was like, all right, everybody, let's get some food, everybody got up except for me and my husband. And I'm like, oh, how am I going to tell her? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot. And she's finally like, why aren't you guys eating? And I told her, and she's like, oh my God, we don't have anything for you. And her husband was like annoyed. He was like like slamming cabinets, like trying to find something
Oh
for us.
God.
Yeah. And I was like, it's really okay. Like, we'll be fine. I think it was a baby shower. So we were only going to be there a couple hours anyway. This wasn't like a long drawn out night of drinking or
Mhm.
something where we
Mhm.
needed to eat. So like, don't
Mhm.
worry about it. It's fine. They found some broccoli in their crisper drawer, and they steamed that for us, and it was delicious. And that's what we ate. But a person maybe who's doing it for their health would see how upset they'd gotten, and maybe they would be like, all right, just this once, like, because to eat one bad meal when most of your meals are really good from a health perspective, you're not likely to hurt yourself
Right.
eating a meal that doesn't meet your dietary restrictions.
Yep.
But the, emotional and mental turmoil just to avoid making someone upset, it's a difficult thing, but it's not worth going back on your ethics and your values and stuff just to
Right.
make somebody happy about the food they've prepared.
Right. No, I agree. I've not encountered any that sounds like a really awkward
Oh yeah.
situation. Yeah. I've not had anything that bad, but yeah, you know, like not even potato chips. They didn't have like,
No, there were no snacks out. It was just like,
oh my
here's
God.
the food.
Oh man.
I know.
Be like, oh, I'm on a potato chip diet. I can only eat potato chips. You know, yeah. One time I was at a concert up in oh gosh, Long Island. And I kind of, all right, fine, I can find something, right? $5 bag of potato chips, and I'm like, well, hey, that's the only thing I could find in this whole arena, and
Yeah.
I'm here for the music, but it was my dinner. Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
Even they
exactly.
had fries, but it was like chili fries with,
Mm,
chili con carne, and I was like, no,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. So yeah, it would be difficult, but I don't know. You're right. There's no reason to go back on your ethics. It's sort of like somebody who has religious restrictions, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm not religious, but I respect that, if you have restrictions or whatever because of your beliefs, then,
Hmm.
go for it. Just I'm not gonna try and make somebody feel bad because they can't
Right.
do something, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting, the approach that you can see sometimes with people who maybe aren't eating something for religious reasons, or even more because it's something like someone who is celiac, right? And, somebody's not going to be like, just eat this bread. Like, don't worry about it. You'll be fine, because they know they're not going to be fine.
right,
Or from the religious perspective, you're not going to find someone who's like, oh, I'm kosher, and have people be like, just eat this cheeseburger anyway. Like, it's all I
right,
have. And like, too bad. Sorry about, they would never. But you
right,
tell somebody you're vegan, and they're like, well, I don't have anything vegan. So, it is what it is. And
right,
while I don't feel like veganism I'd never call it a religion. It certainly is a philosophy that I live by, but I wouldn't use the word religion.
right. Yeah.
It's still, yeah, it feels like we haven't quite earned, or we haven't earned that, where people don't, I don't know.
it doesn't have that same level of respect for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because, people can have a lot of different beliefs as long as they're based in facts as opposed to non-facts, put it
Mhm.
that way. Your beliefs should be respected. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. Change the subject just a little bit, but still on vegan.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you seen the movie The Game Changers?
Yeah. Yep.
Excellent, excellent
Mhm.
movie, and I think it's very very effective. It's not necessarily about being vegan, but it totally approached the topic in a different way
Yeah.
than I expected. And I initially avoided the movie because I don't really like Schwarzenegger, and I knew he produced it and he was in it. But when I finally watched it, I must have watched it like 3 times. I never do. And I was like recommending everybody to watch it because I think it is. I think it's, when you talk about pro athletes, when you talk about, kind of tying it into that respect of beliefs, I maybe they're doing it all for their health, um, because there were a lot of health attributes called out, right?
Mhm.
Like, when you eat the plant-based diet, your health improves immediately, the blood tests, all that stuff. But it kind of, I think it's very important in both to spread the knowledge and also to kind of gain that respect of and I would call it more of an ethical belief system, right? It's a framework that we work with. And I think I mentioned to you, um, so my personal ethics about it is I have a purse that's leather from, I believe I bought it in 95 when I was in Europe. And I still have it. It's a very good purse. And once I became vegan, I don't buy leather, but I'm not doing anything for the cow that sacrificed its life by throwing that purse away. So I
Mhm.
still use it. I try and minimize. I'm not perfect. It's, we have a cat. I think you have cats.
Yeah, right.
And dogs. I know that there are animal products in my house just from the pet aspect. But the kibble, for the most part, except for the border collie, he's not on a pure vegan kibble, but the other two are. And they're thriving on it. So, but I still know I'm not. So I guess I make a little bit of, you know, compromises here and there. That I still struggle with, but I keep remarking, like I need to figure out a plant-based substitute for this treat, or because I know there are, and we do like our own dehydrated sweet potatoes for the dogs, right? Like
Mhm.
James will do that every once in a while. So we try and do that, but yes, I still have some milk bones, and yes, they still get milk bones every day. And so I don't know. It is an ethical framework, but it's like most, it's not perfect, I think.
Yeah. And I think that that's important too, especially here on this podcast and just when we're out in the world talking to people about veganism, is that, the definition that I follow is, the from the Vegan Society, written by Donald Watson back in the 1940s, where he says that it's as far as possible and practicable. We
Mm,
don't live in a vegan world, and we
yeah.
can't expect that every action we take will be, completely without some kind of maybe, not non-vegan action. Like, yeah, I mean, we have 3 cats here. These 3 showed up on our back porch because where I live, there are people who are irresponsible and they let their cats out and they make kittens and then they don't take the kittens in. So they're just living out in the world. So when they showed up, we brought them in. The cat we had, Cookie, who passed away in September. I had adopted her from a shelter. She had been a victim of hoarding.
Mm.
Before the shelter brought her in, she was living in a house with 43 other cats. It's
Oh my God.
awful. Yeah. But like, and then it was just me and her for a long time. The fact that they have to eat animal products because cats are obligate carnivores, I have to figure out how I feel about that, right?
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm not going to feed them food that's going to kill them because, try to like make them vegan because cats can't be vegan.
Mm.
But so I'm like, okay, I've saved these 3 cats from being homeless or from potentially also making other cats outside by, reproducing. And then also with clothing and stuff like that, like, yeah, if you when I start a sentence correctly, Kimberly. When I went vegetarian, I was 20 years old. I was living at home with my parents. The I changed everything except I was still eating eggs and cheese. But as far as like the clothing I had, the handbags, the sneakers, the shoes, I gave all that stuff to my mom.
Mm.
And
Okay.
because I could, and I didn't have anything that I loved, like, oh, I don't want to give this away. I just gave it all to her or like to friends because I had nothing else to spend my money on. So I was like, I'll just replace everything. But
Hmm.
most people are not in that position. And when you
Right.
spend, money on a handbag, just using your example, that and it's still in condition where you can use it, you know,
Yep.
there's nothing wrong with that from my perspective either, because you know that when that handbag is eventually not usable anymore, you're not going to go buy another leather handbag. You're going to buy a vegan one.
Yep.
And so that's important for people listening who are thinking like, oh my God, I have to change everything overnight. And how do I call myself vegan if I'm still carrying a handbag that's made of leather or wearing a pair of leather shoes? Like, well, what's your intention? And but then also maybe be prepared if somebody asks you, oh, I thought you were vegan, why are you wearing leather shoes?
Right.
And you figure out how to talk to people about it. It's all
Yep.
about communication.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally. It's all about the journey. It's all about, figuring out your own path. Um, I haven't done a lot of research on kind of the philosophy behind it, but it's, I think, like you were saying, you make your own, what is practicable and what is doable, and are you doing more good in the world than harm? There are considerations, just like with any philosophical or ethical, you know, situation. So
Hmm.
as long as I'm not knowingly, um, harming,
Right.
or minimizing the harm that I do, I think, that's best I can do, and that's all we can all hope, right?
Right. Yeah.
So,
And as we learn and start to understand, then we keep doing better, right?
mhm,
If we learn something, oh my gosh, this thing this whole time has had an animal product in it, and I had no idea. Then
right.
you make some changes. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And like, my cousin who contacted me recently and wanted to know about vegetarianism, um, I would have never thought in a million years because, her my dad is from India, not vegetarian. There's a lot of vegetarian Indian food, as you probably know. There's a lot of vegan Indian food also, but her mom was from a Mexican background, and I think the two cultures together just meant a lot of meat and dairy,
Yeah.
more, I don't know, more so than anybody else, but very ensconced in that. I would have never imagined in a million years that she would have asked, about what, you never know.
Yeah.
Things happen, health, animals, whatever. I mean, and people, if they know that you are vegan, as long as you're not, in their face about it, they will reach out.
Hmm.
I, I was really pleased. I was really thrilled she reached out to me. So, I don't know. It's like you just hope that somebody will think about you and ask you.
Yeah.
Because I pulled together a bunch of stuff. I don't have anything done, but I was able to pull together a lot of different resources for her quickly and just tell her how I approached it when I first started, and she seems to be doing really well. So I'm
That's
really,
awesome.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. We never know when we're planting seeds, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. You never know.
Yeah.
So you
Just
just
talk
have
to
to think
everybody.
about like you're doing it every, well, I mean, just your day-to-day stuff, right? Just
Yeah.
don't hesitate to mention it. You never know when somebody will say, hey, let me ask her about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I too, whenever someone asks me, I feel honored as well. I'm so happy to answer questions, and I get maybe sometimes a little too excited about it, but I really enjoy. I love being vegan. It's one of my favorite things in my whole
Yeah,
life. It's
yeah,
best
I
decision I've
think
ever made.
exactly. I mean, I have a couple that I think is, of along those lines, and being a vegan is definitely one of them, right? One of the best decisions. Why didn't I do it sooner? Oh my gosh, right?
Yep.
And that's what you hear from other vegans. Like, that's usually their only complaint. Why
Hmm.
didn't I do it sooner? So,
Yep.
but you do it when you do it.
Yeah. Such a beautiful thing. Yeah. Well, we are closing in on an hour. So
Oh
before I
gosh,
let you go, just want to ask one final question.
I think I know what it is.
Oh, could anyone even guess at this point? Tell us about your favorite hummus or favorite way to eat hummus. I love
Hmm.
asking this question.
So I have two favorite hummus. One is like garlic hummus. I buy like this organic. I should just make my own, but I'm lazy. It's this organic garlic hummus, and my favorite way to eat it is just on a bagel in the morning.
Good.
On a yeah, that's
Yeah.
just my spread for my bagel. That's what I do. I used to every once in a while I'll get what is it called? There's a Kite Hill, the cream
Mhm.
cheese, the almond based
Yeah.
cream cheese. But by far favorite way to do that is it hummus on the bagel.
Yeah.
And then the other one I have this is it Boar's Head? Great brand, right? Boar's Head, they make hummus, and it's a sweet chili hummus,
Oh,
I
okay.
think it's called. And I used it in it's I think it's like a wrap of summer, on a tortilla, sweet chili hummus, some spinach or lettuce, baby greens, whatever, cucumbers, tomatoes, and Kalamata olives, some salt and pepper, and I wrap it all up. But it's just like the best thing. I love. I had one today for lunch. It's just it tastes like, I guess it's technically probably a salad in a wrap. And I
Hmm.
never think I eat salads, but the hummus just makes it the sweet chili hummus. I love that. So probably my only Boar's Head product that I
Yeah.
um, anyway,
That
it's it.
sounds amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, hummus has essentially become mayo for me. Like it is
Mm,
definitely what I put on my sandwiches, and I've been eating a lot of bowls. In fact, this week I've pretty much eaten the same thing for dinner and lunch every day.
mm,
And there's always like four big scoops of hummus right on the top of
mm.
the mix it
Yeah.
all in, and oh,
And
it's so good.
it's good and it's filling, and yeah, I never get tired of it. So
Yeah, it's the best.
and it's a good staple, right? It's a good. There's always cartons of it in my fridge. So
Yeah, same here. I make it sometimes too, and but it's always hit or miss for me. I follow the same recipe every single time, never
mhm.
comes out the same every single time.
Really,
So I don't know. That's just me. I'm too heavy-handed with, one thing and not the next time. And yeah, so there is usually a tub of it in there to save us, should I completely botch the recipe.
I think once I invest, I've always wanted to get a high speed blender, right?
Mm,
I have like a food processor, and but it's kind of like on the bigger side, and I don't know, getting it out unless I'm going to make a large recipe, I tend
yeah.
not to think of it. And I have like a small Ninja, but it doesn't seem to. Um, I mean, it's good for just, but I think like once I get my what's it called? Those really good high speed blenders that
The
everybody
Vitamix.
loves. There we go.
Yeah.
Vitamix. Once I finally pull the trigger and get one of those, I expect I will do a lot more things like hummus, and
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
someday I can dream.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we could have this love fest about hummus for another hour, but
Probably.
I don't want to keep you. So I just want to thank you so much. It's been an amazing conversation. I know that the listeners will love it. Thank you so
Well,
much for
thank
being
you.
with me.
Yep. Thanks for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I really loved having you.
Thanks. Well, have a good evening.
You
Take
too.
care.
Yeah.
All right.
This was an amazing conversation. That hour with Susheila flew by and truly felt like a beautiful journey. Meet yourself where you are. Keep learning, growing, and making those choices that resonate with your heart and soul. More information about AG-Gag laws and links to other topics we covered in this episode can be found in the show notes in your favorite podcast app and at didyouBringTheHummus.com. Find me on Facebook or Instagram under Did You Bring the Hummus for updates on what's new, upcoming episodes, and everyday vegan stuff. I hope you have found this episode helpful and inspiring. If you have questions or are a vegan who would like to be interviewed on a future episode, please email me at didyouBringTheHummus@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.